We are back here in our third count right here at Reffing It Up, and we are with I hate to say it and give him his props, but I love him to death, and so I'm gonna have to do it. I think is one of the greatest minds in professional wrestling, and I don't care what anybody says. You have not ridden with a guy in a car for hours upon hours, almost gotten to a fight in a European airport
Yeah.
where we just could not agree to disagree. Um, of course, I backed down and gave him my eggs. But Al, I have to ask you a question. And this is just obviously we have no content of this being true. We don't know anything, but I just felt like this is something that someone had sent me, and I wanted to just ask your opinion. Do you feel like there's too much heat in the kitchen right now at WWE with The Rock and Triple H? What are your opinions on this? Because the aftermath of WrestleMania 41, of course, there's The Rock not showing up, The Rock's comments again on the Pat McAfee show, and then of course the in ring that Triple H had that was a little bit heated, I guess. Would you would say, or I don't know the word you would want to use, Al, because only you have the perfect words. But anyway, Al, what are your opinions on this?
Well, first off, let's keep in mind this is my opinion. It's just, I'm speculating, but the only thing I brought up at one point, because I was asked about it, I think on Vince Russo's podcast, that I mentioned that Jonathan Coachman, I brought up the potential for there actually being some real life drama between the two of them. I mean, we know going back that they've always competed against each other, and that's good. I mean, listen, the more competition there is in the locker room among the talent, the more it drives the talent, it drives the show, that drives business, where they're all scrambling to be the top person, to be the draw.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you think back of all the, Steve Austin didn't have an easy time. He got over, he now had to stay over, which meant he had to compete with Triple H and The Rock and, you know, all these different guys nipping at his heels, ready to take his spot. And he was doing everything he could to stay in that position, and that's what drives business. Now, Hunter and The Rock did not at one point, they didn't get along, which was great. It was great for business. It really was. And because here's the thing. Number one, first and foremost, okay? Because this is the weird part. This is the juxtaposition. This is the dichotomy of the wrestling business, right? Is that as a performer, because that's all we got left, performers. As a performer, you got to go in the ring and you got to go out there to make yourself look like a star. But at the same time, this ain't the day to do the favor for you, well, you gotta help elevate someone else above you because for whatever reason, and there's no way to explain it or rationalize it, there's a gut feeling this guy, if we get behind him and maybe he's going to draw money, okay, and we'll all do business because the way it used to work, maybe it may not still to this degree because things have evolved where now it's, even WWE is no longer driven as far as attendance based so much. I mean, it still comes down to that, you know, and they're a content provider, but let's face it, if their content doesn't draw sufficient audience numbers, they're going to cease to then have that television contract. So it still is about motivating an audience to want to watch you, to see you. Okay. Period. At the end of the day, that's it. How do we do that? Well, Jerry Jarrett said it best, and it always works. And that is, we got to tell them you want somebody to believe a lie, tell them just a little bit of the truth. And so back then, when Hunter and Rock had that rivalry going, I mean, it was a shoot rival. They did not like each other, and they were each trying to get over on each other. But at the end of the day, we got to do business, you know. And hey, if I don't necessarily like this guy, but if I'm going to do what I can to get him over, because if I get him over, that gets me more over. We draw more money, And back during the day, if I got you over, Well, and you started, we drew better houses. Well, everybody on the show made more money,
Right.
because there was more money to divvy up. You may not make what so and so is making up there, but if we all don't get together and decide to get this guy over, well, none of us are going to make any money. To translate it simply, like in OVW, if there's a guy and we're like, well, we all get, well, we're going to see if we can get this kid over, well, you're making, $50 a night right now. The guy's making 100. Now, of course, you're jealous and you want to make 100, and you're not going to be happy about him getting the spot, and you're going to feel like you deserve it. But we're all going to agree, look, for whatever reason, this might be good business. Let's give it a shot. Let's see if we can get this kid over. Not half-ass it, because you can't be half pregnant in anything. Okay? Sure, get off the pot. Let's get him over. Okay? And then, now he's making 300 a night, but you're now making 100, 125. You understand? It benefits you because you're making more money because he's drawing the house. Plus, if you do business and you're always smart, hey, what's he need to maintain that? He's going to always need guys to work with, because nobody can draw alone. Okay, nobody. Hogan couldn't draw alone. And the reason he was over and had the run he had was because they had a line of heels that you could feed to Hogan, which started with Orndorff and then went to Bundy, and then you just kept going. And that's what kept him, kept the heat on him and kept him getting him over. That's the same with Steve. Steve couldn't draw on his own. He needed a heel, and the best heel was Vince. And that's what kept it going, kept the run. And then you feed other guys into it, and we all did it because it was obvious he was getting over.
Right.
The same goes for the Rock. You might be jealous of him. You might wish it was you. But you're like, well, damn, I don't want to go back to half empty houses and it's not making any money. So we all know, or at least within the business, and it's not hard to form an opinion and speculate that, hey, there might be some real life heat between the two of them. And there probably is, because it's still a leftover from before. But if they're smart, and these guys are, and they're good, they're workers, meaning, because everyone now doesn't understand that term. To work is to work with each other. But it's really a worker. The definition of a worker is to make someone believe a lie, something that's not true. Well, what draws money? Oh, there's a rivalry, and we're going to make them believe it's not, make them believe this lie is real, that it's true, because there is kind of some truth to it, which now is going to add an edge to it that's going to make it even easier to believe, and that's going to make it even more certain we're going to draw money with it.
Yep.
And so so when I saw, of course, when I heard Coachman, and he's been around long enough, he knew, it's not outrageous for him to speculate that and not be far off the mark, that enmity actually did exist at one time and can still very well, and I'm sure it does to a degree, exist, and then, but when I saw Hunter come out and acknowledge it in some indirect way, I was like, there you go, boys. Cut that promo, start to build that heat, get that ball rolling. Now you just take your time, and you drop little things, and you make it as real and as believable and as much back to our original subject matter that we were talking about, as much information as all of you have. As much as you're on the inside, you still don't understand that all of us, every one of us, are marks. And the easiest marks to work are the ones who don't think they are a mark.